Okay, this is Matthew chapter 5, verses 31 to 32. Just a quick two-verse passage here concerning divorce. It was also said, "Whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you that anyone who divorces his wife, except on the ground of unchastity, causes her to commit adultery. And whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery." Okay, so not much to kind of say here for me, but so let's read this again here. It was also said, so Jesus is saying before he entered the world in the Jewish law, it was said that if there was a divorce between a wife and a husband, let the husband give the wife a certificate of divorce here. So that certificate of divorce, to my kind of basic understanding, was a legal document ending a marriage. And the purpose of that kind of certificate, the purpose of that legal document, was allowing each, the man and the woman, to remarry if the relationship was not just, if there was some sort of violence or you know, some sort of violence that prevented the woman from being treated unjustly, um, maybe causing harm or taking advantage of the woman, or maybe even vice versa. I'm not really sure, but that's what that certificate of divorce would do before Jesus was in this world preaching the new law. Um, I think it was part of the Jewish law. Here, when you kind of look at it in the Old Testament, Deuteronomy, the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 24, verse 1, you can find that certificate there where it's talking about the certificate of divorce. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 24, verse 1, if you want to look at it yourself. Anyway, verse 32 here, then Jesus says, "But I say to you that anyone who divorces his wife, except on the ground of unchastity, causes her to commit adultery. And whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery." So unchastity, it also might have, unchastity is also known as porneia. It comes from the Greek word porneia, and unchastity is basically just sexual immorality, um, marital unfaithfulness, or sexual sin that violates the marriage covenant, that violates the promise of the marriage that the husband and wife gave to each other from the beginning. So that is kind of the only case that Jesus is saying divorce is allowed through unchastity, aka porneia. Sorry, end that there. Um, and so other kind of passages of, other kind of examples of unchastity in the Bible can include things like adultery, fornication, incest, those kind of sexual sins that break God's law. Anyway, so I mean, Jesus makes it pretty clear here, according to what Jesus is saying is, "But I say to you that anyone who divorces his wife, except on the ground of unchastity, causes her to commit adultery, and whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery as well." So even if you are single and you are going to marry someone who is divorced, not on the grounds of unchastity, um, then technically it's adultery according to the Bible, according to Jesus Christ's teachings. And I know that that can happen a lot nowadays. Again, I'm not condemning anyone. I'm just trying to understand Jesus' teachings as best as I can. But kind of, if you have more questions on that, I would highly suggest talking to more like reading into the Bible, asking priests, maybe pastors, if it's pastors in your denomination, to get more insight on this kind of topic here. But anyway, that's all for now.